By EURJPY, we initially looked for a sell, right? We looked for a sell from this area towards this demand area by the 4-hour. So this supply, I was anticipating price to break from this supply to the 4-hour demand, but throughout the week, price was consolidating within this tiny range, and I wasn't confident because it didn't show signs of price pushing any lower. So by EURJPY, I had initially taken a trade, but immediately left right when price was within this area. So when price was within this area here, that's when I initially left the trade because I believed that price would push higher, which it did. So the idea did fail, but we didn't take a loss because we saw this consolidation area as a bad sign, or it showed bad news because it was not going to push any lower. If it did break below this low here, if it shows signs of breaking below the low, I would have considered the sell opportunity towards the demand area by the 4-hour, so this demand. But since we never got that, I went out of the trade and price continued pushing higher. So EURJPY, we had no trade. We have no trade because we never took a loss or a win. And then USD, right? By EURUSD we only consolidated, right? So initially I wanted to join right by this demand area down here. So if I were to delete these real quick, initially I was looking for a retracement towards this demand area and a push towards this area right above it, right? So this area here, but price didn't allow that because it just consolidated. So we began consolidating and we failed to make newer highs above this area. So this was just to mark out the supply area of interest, but I had no trade. So once I saw those, I was like, nah, I'm not taking any trade from EURUSD because the market conditions are unfavorable and the consolidation is just unnecessary for me to consider any good trading opportunities. By USDCAD, however, we did have, our idea did work, but we didn't take the trade, right? So if we were to look closely, initially when the week opened, we had our area was retested, right? So this was the area of interest, and once we had this retest, we had an initial push to the upside, right? As you can see, we had this push, a strong push, which did break above this tiny high here. So we broke above this high, and also we broke above this high here. So we broke above this high. So I did look for trading opportunities, right? So if we were to look by the 1 hour for a nice demand area by this area, by this range, we had this supply area, this demand area right here. So this is what I was looking for, right? I was looking for a tap in towards this zone and a push up, right? But my initial reaction was I was looking for a quick reaction, so a push to the swing and then a direct tap in and then another push higher, but we never got that, right? So since it had taken longer for price to retest towards this area, I hadn't taken a trade because by Tuesday and Wednesday we weren't looking at the markets. So price ended up tapping to my area at the end of Tuesday, so by New York, and pushed higher, right? So I should have looked for entries by New York because this is the session which I trade this currency pair. But price ended up pushing higher and reached this high here, right? So it ended up reaching this high, and that was the trade idea. So my idea would have been to take price from this demand towards the extreme. So I would have been looking for either this swing high or this high here. But since price occurred later throughout the week, I didn't want to take this entry. So we missed a good opportunity to turn this into a risk to reward of 5. So this was the missed idea by USDCAD, and similarly by GBPCHF, right? We had a similar idea. So we were looking to enter from this area here. So for it to mark it out correctly, we were looking to enter from this demand area. So if I were to zoom in, you see this demand area here, this was the entry demand area I was looking for initially by the weekend, but price never retested this area and continued pushing higher, right? So with this, I began initially, before I finalized the idea, we had this interesting movement right here within this zone. So when price broke above this high, so if I were to mark it out real quick, when we broke above this high here, right, what I was looking for was a retracement towards this area, and then the target would have been this swing high, the 4-hour swing, right? So with that in mind, if we were to focus on this box here, within this box, we had interesting price action, right? We had interesting price action. So within this box, right, if we were to look closely, we had formed this demand area here. We had this demand area here, right? We had this demand area. So when I was looking at this, price was initially by this high. It was right above this high. And what I was looking for was, I was looking for this demand area to be taken out and continue pushing higher, right, towards the swing high. But if we were to look closely, as you can see, we had this entry demand here, right? Price tapped into a demand and immediately pushed higher, breaking above this tiny high here, right? So it ended up breaking above this tiny high and continued pushing higher. So all, like with my trading style, this had every confirmation. So I should have taken this as the entry demand, and I should have targeted from this demand, with my trading style. I would have just looked for a push towards this high here, right? With the risk to reward of 5, if I were to extend the stop loss down a bit, I would have had a risk to reward of 4. So my idea would have been to take this trade from the entry demand towards the area. And the reason I'm considering this is because we had everything. We had the initial push, which did break structure, and then we had a confirmation where there was a shift of character by the lower time frame. So I would have entered this and looked for a trade right above. But I had missed this idea because I was really convinced that price was going to retrace towards this demand area and then continue push higher. But that didn't happen, so we had this missed trading idea. And also, with that in mind, if I were to use this idea as an example, right? If I were to use this, you see here, what we had was we had this push to the upside. Then we retested down towards this demand, and then we had an initial reaction. The initial reaction formed this demand, entry demand, which price used to take price to the upside, right? So if I were to explain this clearly, we have an initial push with an area of interest. When price respects the area of interest, I should use the initial push to the upside as my area of interest or as my entry. With this in mind, if we were to compare this trade to this one here, the reason I believe price didn't retrace towards this extreme area. So if I were to zoom out, right? So if we were to look at this carefully, right, the exact same thing happened here, right? So we had this uptrending move here. We had this uptrending move, and then price began retracing down, right? We began retracing towards this area. If we were to look closely, we had this initial reaction, right, towards this area, and then price retested and continued pushing up. This was the, so if it, with this idea in mind, the demand area I should have actually entered from was this one down here, from this demand, and then the target should have been the same high, right? So the target should have been here, stop slightly below the demand, and then price should have been right above this swing, right? But my mistake was I had considered this as the area of interest and not the entry supply demand. So what I did was I considered this the area of interest and the other demand area as the, what's this, entry, which price didn't respect and continued pushing higher. So my idea was I should have had this demand area here as my entry, but I didn't do that. So price respected that demand and continued pushing higher. So if I were to look, this idea here and this one in the box, so this idea and this one here, which was in the box, they're both identical, but I tried to use this demand area here as the entry. I tried to use this demand as the entry, and price didn't respect and continue pushing higher. So that was missed idea number 2 by the Swiss franc currency pair. So we had 2 ideas missed here by this currency pair and 1 idea missed by USDCAD. So with that, with the next ideas, I should focus more on improving my entries and find better risk to, okay, I think my risk to reward was perfect, but it was just my entry, so I'll improve on that when I'm back testing.